welcome to Ranking in Sports, and we are here to discuss Thursday Night Football between the Steelers and the Minnesota Vikings. And before I get into the review of the actual game, I first want to say rest in peace to Demaryius Thomas. That news, I first saw it, and somebody said it was a rumor. I was one of those that was hoping it was a rumor. It wasn't, and it was very, very sad to see that. I can't imagine what the family's going through. I hope they're doing all right. It's tough. He was one of the most fun people to watch during his time with the Broncos. So he made some fabulous plays, a fabulous career. What stands out to me is his 2013 game season with Peyton Manning. It's just sad. It's very sad to see. Rest in peace to Demaryius Thomas, and I hope his family, his friends, all of his loved ones are doing okay. Now, there's no real way to transition into the actual recap of this game, so let's just jump right into it. The Vikings did end up somehow holding on to a game and winning 36-28 against the Steelers. My only takeaway that I have, as just a general thought, is the Vikings literally cannot play in a normal game at all this season. I don't think they've played in a normal game once this season. They've played at least a double-digit amount of their games have came down to a one-possession game. This game was an 8-point game, 36-28, and a handful of them, this one included, literally came down to the last play of the game. Big Ben threw an absolute rocket to Freiermuth, I believe is who it was. It was so close to catching it. I was literally thinking on that last drive, it's like, well, this game has to come down to something crazy. It really, really does. It has to. I mean, it had to come down to something crazy. And it felt like it. The Steelers drove, I think, 97 yards on that last drive, which Big Ben looked really good. I hope that doesn't give Pittsburgh Steelers fans and Big Ben himself some false hope because, he may have looked really, really good on that last drive, but he outplayed Kirk Cousins in my opinion, but there was times where he looked bad, but just not him that looked bad. The offensive line was terrible. There was one point in this game where I legit thought he was going to hurt every single one of them because the center wouldn't snap the ball and they ended up with a delay of game or something like that. And he literally looked like he wanted to hurt everybody. And it was bad too because he was getting sacked like crazy in the first half, pressure like crazy. Nobody was doing anything right. That was nuts. The Steelers' offensive line was god-awful in this game. It was atrocious. There was nothing beautiful about that. Big Ben took some massive hits. Like a guy that big, he just fell straight flat down. He is huge compared to a lot of those guys that were blitzing off the edge for the Vikings, and those guys were making Big Ben look like a twig, and they were just plowing him straight to the ground. It was not beautiful at all. The Steelers' offensive line is trash. It has a lot of work it needs to do, or they just need to rebuild it. They're going to end up rebuilding this whole team because after this game, they were just bad. The Steelers as a whole were really, really bad in this game. Chase Claypool especially. He's an idiot. Chase Claypool, I know he's young and he has a lot to do. He's an idiot. Chase Claypool made some really stupid decisions, boneheaded things in this game. He had that stupid penalty early on in the game. It was like a personal foul where he just taunted or something, whatever he did. He looked like an idiot. He looked like a moron. He looked like a child. He nearly fumbled. He's got to protect that football. And then he also, in that 2-minute drill, he also celebrated a first down like an absolute clown. It's just like, dude, you cannot be doing that. I was like, you're such a moron. Why are you celebrating a first down in a 2-minute drill situation? You can't do that. You have to be more disciplined. You have to know. And his teammates, they just look like, if I'm Big Ben, if I'm everybody, I'm irritated. I mean, the whole game itself could have been better, but it took time off the clock where they easily could have been much, much, much better chance to score points. They could have had multiple chances at the end of that game instead of just the one. Because when you have Chase Claypool making those really stupid, boneheaded plays like that will get you in the doghouse, especially with Mike Tomlin. He has got to be sick of all these childish behaviors, TikTok dancing, all this BS that the Steelers love to do instead of focusing on the games. It was a bad for the Steelers most of this game. Now, the Vikings, of course, it's a Vikings game on national television, so you got to see right here on national television exactly what the Vikings are about. They literally cannot finish a game whatsoever. that second half was just bad for the Vikings. It was bad. They scored 13 total points in the second half. They had a 29-0 lead at one point. There was just a lot of things. So, I mean, I'm going to try to keep a steady pace and just go with a flow on this and try to make it make sense. But this game was actually a lot of fun. Like I mentioned just a few seconds ago, this game was 29-0 at one point. I genuinely thought this game was over. But there was also that tiny thought in my mind. The back of my mind was like, well, we are watching the Vikings. We are watching Kirk Cousins on prime time. We are, they're notorious all year for making things really close. They did it again. Kirk Cousins, speaking of him, was terrible in this game. I thought Kirk Cousins played like garbage. He was not good whatsoever, in my opinion. I thought Kirk Cousins was terrible. Terrible. Him and Justin Jefferson were off in this game. They had like 6 passes where they missed, and 4 of them easily could have went for touchdowns if him and Jefferson were on the same page. He was only 14 of 31. He was under 50%. He had 2 interceptions. Both of them could have cost them the game easily. Like, if this game went the way it was trending towards going, it would have been really, really bad for Kirk Cousins. And I think Big Ben completely outplayed him. And there was throws that Big Ben was making on the sideline to all of his receivers. Johnson, Claypool, those guys, Washington, they were making amazing catches on the sideline. Like, there was a pass interference, I think, on the 2-minute drive. Like, I know I was harping on Chase Claypool for being a, moron on a couple of those plays, but like, he made a fantastic play on one of those, and it was a pass interference, and I was like, he caught that. Like, that was a great play. But the Vikings, man, like, the first half was just pure domination by Dalvin Cook. He had, I think, 153 yards, 2 touchdowns in the first half, and he easily could have had more. He could, if he would have slipped out of a few tackles here and there, didn't slip and all that, he would have ran for a lot more than what he did. I thought Dalvin Cook had a fantastic game, an amazing game. I was secretly hoping for the record to be broken by Dalvin Cook, currently held by Adrian Peterson. I thought this game was, I thought it could have been done. I really thought it could have been done. Not gonna lie, there was times in this game where I confused Madison and Cook. I'll admit that. I really did confuse them. But yeah, Cook had an amazing game. He had some great catches late in that game. But Kirk Cousins as a whole was awful. He made some terrible throws. He wasn't connecting. Only completed 14 passes. Now, there was the one to Osborne after the Steelers, I think, scored a touchdown, got it within 9, and then they threw that deep ball, like I said, to Osborne. That was great. That was a beautiful throw by Cousins. I liked that part. But like, there was parts of this game where I was just thinking, like, man, Cousins is bad. He did not. I thought Big Ben completely outplayed him. Big Ben was 28 of 40, 308 yards, 3 touchdowns, and an interception. That interception wasn't pretty by anybody at all on that one. But this game was absolutely insane. The defense of the Steelers was atrocious in the first half. It literally couldn't stop anything. Like, I'm not even fast, and I probably could have ran through that and probably gained 125 yards rushing. Like, those holes they were huge. And TJ Watt did get injured, and I really think that if TJ Watt was in this game, there was, at points in this game, in my opinion, I thought the Steelers might have been able to pull out the victory. I really did, because the defense was towards the end making some stops, but they weren't able to get any pass rush whatsoever on Cousins. And I believe that if TJ Watt was in there, I think there was times where I really thought that the Steelers honestly could have a chance to possibly win this game. It just wasn't meant to be. But yeah, it was crazy in this game. This was literally the Vikings season put into one game. A 29-point game at one point. 29-0. And you only win by 8. Now the Steelers, I think the Steelers at one point had like 3 touchdowns in 5 minutes, which is impressive. That's just great. That was the moment when we all were sitting there like, well, I'm glad I didn't turn this game off. I knew something stupid had to happen. Like, I mean, there was always that possibility, Vikings come out firing out of halftime and this game is over. But I thought once the Steelers started scoring and the Vikings started turning the ball over, going 3 and out in that in the third quarter of the second half, everything else, I thought this game, it got interesting very fast. Like I said, I think it was 3 touchdowns in 5 minutes for the Steelers. And that interception by Kirk Cousins also in there was very bad, poor timed. But yeah, this game was fun. I don't know what to say. It was fun, stupid. There was a lot of boneheaded decisions in there. Mike Zimmer, if they would have lost this game, he probably would have been fired because his defense played fantastic in the first half, but it started to fall apart there in the second half very quickly. Very quickly, it started to fall apart. But I don't know. I think the Steelers wise for the rest of their season, they're obviously going to have to win out. I mean, they have to go 2-2 to keep the Mike Tomlin record of being 500 in a season. They'll still somehow finish 8-8 because of that stupid tie with the Lions. So congratulations, Mike Tomlin. You're going to go 8-8 again this year. Vikings wise, I mean, I think it kept their season alive. They might make the playoffs. I don't know. It's going to be wild. The entire playoffs in the NFL right now are just wild. But yeah, this game, if I'm a Steelers fan, I don't know how I would feel, but I would not feel happy at all. The first half, offensive line terrible. Big Ben nearly got killed. Big Ben in the second half played a fantastic second half, looked great. Vikings were bad in the second half. Kirk Cousins was really bad. I didn't think he played well. I really don't. I think this was one of Kirk Cousins' worst games of the year, stat-wise, 216 yards. You know, that looks good on the stat sheet, but actually what I saw was not very good at all. I really don't think the Vikings, that second half, man. Vikings, of course, had to make this game really, really close. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Thursday Night Football between the Steelers and the Vikings. The Steelers lost to the Vikings 36-28. Give me your thoughts down below of what you thought of this game, and I will see you in the next one.